The buzz around Jackson Hayes is starting to grow, and honestly, it's for good reason. Footage has recently emerged showing the big man putting in serious work on his three-point shot, and it's the kind of development that might not seem like a big deal at first glance. But if you really understand where he's at in his career and what his skill set currently looks like, this could be massive. We're talking about a player known almost exclusively for his athleticism, a lob threat who lives above the rim, a guy who thrives on energy, hustle, and vertical spacing. But now, imagine that same Jackson Hayes stepping out to the perimeter and knocking down jumpers with confidence. That changes everything. This isn't the first time we've seen him toy with the idea of stretching the floor. Even back in his New Orleans days, there were glimpses of a smooth shooting form. He's never been the type of big man with a broken jumper. His mechanics have always looked solid enough, but he's just never had the green light or the rhythm to consistently step out and take those shots. He's never been given that role. His game has been limited more by usage than actual inability. Now, though, it looks like he's taking matters into his own hands, working consistently to add something that could turn him into much more than just a rim-running, pick-and-roll finisher. And look, nobody's expecting Jackson Hayes to become some kind of floor-stretching monster overnight. No one's asking for a 7-footer to shoot like Klay Thompson. That's not what this is about. This is about adding layers to his game, about making defenses hesitate. It's about becoming just reliable enough from mid-range or beyond the arc that defenders can't sag off him completely, can't just sit in the paint and wait to contest a lob. Even just hitting a couple corner threes a month changes how teams defend you. And that might be the difference between Hayes staying in the rotation during the playoffs or getting played off the floor again like we saw last season. Because let's be honest here, Jackson Hayes, as electric and exciting as he can be, is still raw. He's 25 years old, just turned 25 in May. And while that might sound young for a regular person, in NBA years, that's right around the time where you need to start becoming what you're going to be. The upside is still there, but now it has to start translating. The physical tools are undeniable. Elite vertical, quick feet, long frame. But unless those tools are paired with a developed skill set, especially offensively, they don't mean as much when teams scheme around you. The NBA isn't just about being athletic anymore. It's about being smart, skilled, and versatile. And versatility is exactly what Hayes needs to tap into. Right now, he's a player that defenses can figure out. If you take away the lob, if you crash the glass hard enough, if you get physical with him in the paint, he starts to fade. He's not someone who's going to punish a switch, not someone who's going to step out and hit the jumper, not someone who makes you pay if you leave him open 15 feet from the basket. But if that starts to change, if Hayes becomes just competent enough as a shooter, everything else opens up. Suddenly, the pick and pop becomes an option. Suddenly, defenders have to go over the screen instead of under. Suddenly, there's space for the guard to attack, or for Hayes to fake the screen and slip backdoor. The whole geometry of the offense changes if your big man can space the floor even a little bit. And that's what this work in the offseason could lead to. Hayes doesn't need to be elite. He just needs to be functional. He just needs to be enough of a threat that the defense respects it. And respect is everything in this league. If defenders don't respect your shot, they sag off, they clog the lane, they destroy your spacing, and they make life harder for everyone else on the floor. That's been one of the challenges with Hayes. When he's not involved in the play as a lob threat, he doesn't draw any attention. He becomes a ghost. And in the playoffs, where every possession is slower and every detail matters, that becomes a liability. That's why developing even a mediocre jumper can completely redefine his role. And you can see that the Lakers are interested in what this could mean. They've been experimenting. There's been talk about giving Hayes more touches, about letting him take a few jumpers in the flow of the offense, about seeing what he can do when he's not just rolling to the rim. This isn't just about spacing either. It's about confidence, decision-making, and expanding the ways he can contribute on the floor. It's about giving him a role that allows him to grow, not just fill a gap. And when you think about what a healthy, locked-in Jackson Hayes could do for the Lakers this season, the potential is actually exciting. This is a team that needs bench production. They need young, athletic players who can provide energy without being a liability. They need versatility. And Hayes could be that guy. especially if he can learn to stay out of foul trouble and tighten up his defensive discipline. Because let's not forget, defense is still a huge part of the conversation with him. Hayes has all the tools to be a very solid defender. He can move laterally, he can contest shots, he can recover quickly, and he's got a motor that lets him impact plays just by hustling. But sometimes he lacks that defensive IQ, the understanding of angles, timing, when to jump, when not to bite on a pump fake. If he can clean that up, become more patient, more grounded, more locked in, then suddenly the Lakers have a two-way big man off the bench who's still developing and still has upside. And you've got to remember, he's not alone in this journey. There are players like Maxi Kleber, for example, who didn't come into the league as shooters but developed that part of their game over time. Kleber is a great model. Not flashy, not dominant, but respected. He hovers around 35% from deep over his career on solid volume. He's the kind of guy who gives you 15 solid minutes, stretches the floor, plays decent defense, and doesn't hurt you. If Hayes can mold himself into a similar role, the Lakers are going to be in a really good place. Not because Hayes becomes a star, but because he becomes reliable. And reliability is what wins games deep in the season. When guys start getting hurt, when the schedule gets tough, when rotations tighten and matchups start to matter more, having a bench big that you can trust, who doesn't need the ball to be effective, who runs the floor, protects the rim, and can knock down a shot when needed, that's valuable. That's what makes championship teams deep and flexible. Hayes doesn't have to be a game changer. He just needs to be steady. And even last season, before any of this offseason work, Hayes showed flashes of that steady presence. In limited minutes, he averaged nearly 7 points and close to 5 rebounds per game. He shot over 70% from the field, albeit on mostly dunks and layups, and showed he could hold his own during stretches when starters were out. Now imagine adding a jumper to that profile. Imagine bumping that scoring average up to 10 points a night with 5 or 6 boards, maybe a block and a steal sprinkled in. Those aren't all-star numbers, but for a bench role, that's huge, especially when you factor in the realities of the NBA season. DeAndre Ayton, as talented as he is, probably isn't playing all 82 games. Most likely, he'll suit up for 65 to 70, which means Hayes is going to get opportunities to start, to play extended minutes, and to show what he can do in more meaningful roles. Those 20 or so games where Ayton might sit could be massive for Hayes. That's his chance to prove that he's more than just a role player, that he can produce when asked, that he's not just filling space, but actually contributing. And with the Lakers aiming to compete at a high level, having someone like Hayes who can step in and hold the fort matters. We saw last year that in the regular season, Hayes can get away with a lot. His energy covers mistakes. His athleticism creates highlights. But when the playoffs come, that margin for error disappears. That's when you need skill. That's when you need the ability to score in more than one way. And that's why this work on his jumper is so important. Because it's not about becoming a new player. It's about becoming a more complete one. And the Lakers are doing the right thing by letting him grow. They're not rushing him. They're not forcing him into a role he's not ready for. But they're giving him the space and the resources to evolve. That's what good development looks like. Letting players build their game naturally, one layer at a time, without trying to shortcut the process. Hayes doesn't need to prove everything in one season. But if he can show consistent growth, especially with his shot, it could be the start of a new chapter in his career. With the foundation laid and the work clearly being put in, Jackson Hayes now stands at the edge of a turning point. What separates players who hang around the league for a few years from those who carve out decade-long careers often comes down to adaptability. That's the key. Can you expand your game? Can you give a coaching staff more than one reason to keep you in the lineup? That's the challenge in front of Hayes right now. Everyone already knows what he can do with a runway. He can explode to the rim, catch lobs, and bring the crowd to its feet. But the NBA has seen plenty of high-flying big men who flamed out because they never developed that second skill. Right now, Jackson Hayes is fighting to make sure he's not one of them. And that's what makes this offseason so exciting. He's clearly not content with being just a lob threat. He's working, he's shooting, and from what's been shown in the footage, it's not just about jacking up threes for the highlight reel. The form looks compact. The release looks smooth. There's intention behind the work. It looks like he's putting in real reps, not just messing around in the gym. And that matters because shooting, especially for bigs, is all about repetition and rhythm. If he can build that consistency now, during the long grind of the offseason, it becomes second nature once the games start. And here's the thing. The Lakers don't even need Hayes to become a volume shooter. No one's going to ask him to take 5 threes a game. In fact, if he ends the season averaging even 1 attempt per game at a respectable clip, that's a huge win. What's important is the threat. The mere possibility that he might take that shot and make it is enough to shift defenders out of the paint, open up lanes for guards to drive, and create more space for the offense to operate. Basketball is a game of inches, and one shooter standing just 3 feet further from the basket can change the entire spacing on a possession. Now think about the possibilities when Hayes is paired with a floor general like Luka Doncic. Luka is already a master at manipulating defenses. Give him one more option, a big who can set a screen, roll hard to the rim, or pop out for a jumper, and the pick and roll becomes deadly. Luka thrives when he has choices. If the defense collapses, he finds a shooter. If they switch, he hunts the mismatch. If the big sags off, and Hayes starts making them pay with a jumper, that's just another layer of complexity for defenses to handle. And this season, the chemistry between those two could hit another level, especially with a full training camp together and a defined role from day one. But let's not act like it's all about offense. Hayes still has plenty to improve on the defensive side, and he knows it. The tools are there, the length, the speed, the agility. But discipline has been an issue. Too often, he bites on pump fakes, commits unnecessary fouls, or gets caught out of position. That's the next big step, because if he can clean that up and become a more reliable rim protector, now you're talking about a true two-way contributor. And again, this doesn't mean he needs to turn into a Defensive Player of the Year candidate. It just means he needs to hold his own, make the right reads, rotate on time, and avoid foul trouble. That alone would be a huge boost to the Lakers bench unit. And the numbers from last season already show a player who's capable of making an impact. In just under 20 minutes per game, Hayes averaged nearly 7 points and close to 5 rebounds. He shot an impressive 72% from the field, even though almost all of those were around the rim. If you add a mid-range jumper to that, just a 15-footer he can hit with confidence. Then his efficiency stays high, but his versatility increases. And again, if that three-point shot becomes a real part of his game, now you're looking at a whole new player. It's all about small gains. If he can bump his scoring average up to 10 points per game while still grabbing 5 or 6 rebounds and providing solid energy minutes off the bench, he becomes a valuable piece in the rotation. And as mentioned before, DeAndre Ayton likely isn't playing the full slate of games. That opens the door for Hayes to potentially start in 20 or so games this season. And those aren't just throwaway games. Those are chances for him to show that he can be trusted with more responsibility, that he's not just a gap filler, but someone who can step into a bigger role when needed. And that's a big deal for a Lakers team that's built to contend, but also has to navigate the marathon that is the NBA regular season. You need depth. You need players who can play spot minutes, but also start in a pinch. You need guys who won't shrink under the pressure of the moment. That's the role Hayes could step into if he continues on this developmental track. He's not being asked to save the franchise. He's being asked to grow into a role that allows the stars to shine while he handles the dirty work. And don't forget, last year we saw moments where Hayes looked like he belonged. There were stretches where he was arguably the Lakers' most impactful defender for multiple games. He brought energy, altered shots, and ran the floor better than most bigs in the league. But as the season wore on, teams started to figure him out. They knew what was coming. They adjusted. That's the nature of the NBA. You always have to evolve. And now, Hayes is trying to do just that. He's trying to stay ahead of the curve. And if that evolution includes turning himself into a 35% shooter from beyond the arc, that's huge. That's not just a rotation player. That's a weapon. Even if it's only on low volume, even if it's just the occasional open look from the corner, it keeps defenses honest. And in a playoff series, that one shot, that on. Whispers around the NBA have recently intensified following a statement made by Giannis Antetokounmpo when he was approached about the possibility of joining the Los Angeles Lakers. The Greek superstar, known for his dominance on both ends of the court and his relentless drive, reportedly expressed a clear disinterest in making a move to the Lakers at this stage of his career. This revelation has sent ripples through basketball circles and among fans, sparking a frenzy of speculation about his future intentions and the dynamics within the Lakers organization. Considering the Lakers' recent attempts to rebuild a championship contender around LeBron James, the idea of adding Giannis to their roster seemed like a natural progression to many. However, Giannis's apparent reluctance introduces a compelling narrative that could shift the balance of power in the NBA. It raises questions about his current priorities, his satisfaction with his current team, and whether external factors such as contract negotiations, team culture, or championship aspirations are influencing his decision. This development also invites discussions about the Lakers' strategy and whether they will pursue alternative approaches to bolster their lineup if the prospect of acquiring Giannis fades. The buzz around this statement is fueling debates about the player's ambitions and the ever-shifting landscape of NBA superteams. The notion that Giannis Antetokounmpo might not be interested in joining the Los Angeles Lakers at the moment adds an intriguing layer to the ongoing NBA offseason narrative. As rumors circulate, insiders and analysts are dissecting what this could mean for both Giannis's current franchise and the Lakers. The Lakers have long been a beacon for top-tier talent aiming for championship glory, but Giannis's comments might indicate a preference to stay loyal or explore other opportunities rather than align with the Lakers' vision right now. This kind of hesitation from a player of Giannis's caliber is unusual, especially when the Lakers have consistently demonstrated an aggressive approach to assembling superstar rosters. Fans and experts alike are pondering if Giannis's hesitation stems from a desire to avoid the spotlight and pressure that comes with being the centerpiece of such a high-profile franchise, or if it reflects concerns about the Lakers' current trajectory and roster construction. Additionally, the timing of these remarks might hint at ongoing behind-the-scenes discussions that are far from settled, with Giannis potentially keeping his options open for future seasons. The implications of this revelation stretch beyond just team dynamics. They touch on the broader NBA ecosystem, where player decisions shape the competitive balance and fan engagement in unpredictable ways. Considering the implications of Giannis Antetokounmpo's reluctance to join the Lakers, one cannot overlook the potential impact on the league's power structure. Giannis, who has been pivotal in transforming his team into a perennial contender, might be signaling a commitment to building something long-term with his current squad instead of jumping ship to a storied franchise like the Lakers. This decision, or at least the indication of such, challenges the common assumption that superstars inevitably gravitate towards the biggest markets and most glamorous franchises. It raises the possibility that Giannis is prioritizing other factors such as team chemistry, management relationships, or a particular style of play that fits his strengths more naturally. Moreover, the Lakers, who have recently been in a cycle of trial and error to find the right complementary pieces for LeBron James and Anthony Davis, could face a significant setback if they cannot convince Giannis to come on board. The potential absence of Giannis from the Lakers roster in upcoming seasons might force the team to reconsider their recruitment tactics and possibly accelerate the development of younger talent or seek other veteran stars to maintain their championship aspirations. Meanwhile, this development stirs excitement and uncertainty among fans about how the NBA landscape will evolve and which teams will rise to dominance next. The conversation around Giannis Antetokounmpo's disinterest in joining the Lakers opens up a broader dialogue about player agency and how modern NBA stars are shaping their careers beyond traditional expectations. The Greek Freak's stance, as rumored, might reflect a growing trend where elite players weigh more than just the allure of big markets or legendary franchises when making career moves. Factors such as personal comfort, family considerations, and organizational culture might be taking a more prominent role in these decisions. Giannis's potential decision to stay put or explore alternatives could signify a strategic approach to his career, focusing on legacy and personal goals rather than the immediate fanfare associated with joining a team like the Lakers. This could influence how other players view their own futures and how franchises approach player acquisitions and retention. The Lakers, in particular, might need to adapt to this shift by enhancing their organizational culture and presenting more compelling, tailored pitches to attract stars who might otherwise be hesitant. The rumors about Giannis's disinterest, whether true or exaggerated, highlight the complex interplay of factors that influence player movement in today's NBA. They underscore how the league's landscape is increasingly shaped by nuanced, multifaceted decisions that go beyond simple trade or free agency transactions. Finally, the ongoing speculation about Giannis Antetokounmpo's future and his comments on not being interested in joining the Lakers at this moment create a captivating subplot in this NBA offseason. While the Lakers have long been a symbol of NBA prestige and success, the Greek superstar's apparent hesitation might point to a more complex decision-making process than many anticipated. It invites observers to consider what truly motivates the league's biggest stars and how they envision their careers unfolding amid shifting league dynamics. For the Lakers, this development could either serve as a wake-up call to reevaluate their approach or push them toward exploring new avenues for assembling a championship roster. For Giannis, it might mean a reaffirmation of his commitment to his current team or a signal that he is carefully weighing all possibilities before making a definitive move. As the rumors swirl and more information potentially emerges, the basketball world remains on edge, eager to see how this narrative unfolds and what it will mean for the future of the NBA's balance of power. This intriguing moment serves as a reminder of the unpredictable nature of professional sports and the human element that drives the game beyond just statistics and wins. Stay informed exclusively about Los Angeles Lakers news. Subscribe to our channel and hit the like button to keep receiving daily updates. Also, share your opinion on the news in the comments, as your contribution is crucial for the Lakers. Stay tuned for the next video.